Hi, everyone. I'd like to welcome you guys to my chef table today. I'm Chef Sean of the executive chef at Intuit in Plano. And today I'm going to be discussing Texas barbecue and barbecue as a whole. The first thing I want to talk to you guys about and say is I hope everyone's safe. I hope everyone's family's safe. We'll continue to take all the measures we can to keep ourselves, our family, and our friends safe so that we can make it through this. Secondly, I want to tell you about my healthy tip for you today. One of the things that a lot of people overlook when we're cooking is the proper cooling of our food. We can tremendously sicken our family and friends if we don't cool things a certain way. Especially the family, mom's favorite casserole or things like that. We want to make sure that we leave those things um, on top of our stove to cool, or if we want to cool that for a rapid for storage, we want to use ice and give that an ice bath. A lot of people don't have ice wands where we use in larger industrial kitchens. You can take a water bottle if you're for say you for the store chili or canned chili or stew for the winter. You can take a water bottle and freeze it until it's solid ice, and you can use that bottle and make sure you sanitize that bottle before putting it in your food. That would help. So that's going to be my safety tip of the day. Moving along, the first thing I'm going to discuss with you guys today is the different woods that you can use when doing smoking. And there is a difference between grilling and smoking. When you grill meat, it's a direct heat that we use charcoal, you rather, briquettes or hardwood. But when we're talking about smoking meat that's low and slow, we want to use a flavorful uh, wood. Here in Texas, most people use post oak. The reason they use post oak is because of not because of the smoke ability, it's because of the smooth fire and heat consistency that post oak give you. It burns fast, but it burns at a very great. It makes a great charcoal, so that gives you the low and slow. Uh, I grew up in Arkansas. My grandfather grew up using and teaching me how to use pecan wood. So I have some here that a lot of people here in Texas frown upon, but I love it. Uh, Pecan wood is a great wood. It gives you great heat. It also gives you a great nutty flavor when it smokes your meat. I also have traditional post oak here. This post oak right here is what is everyone in Texas uses. Most of people, a lot of people use mesquite, but this is probably the number one source wood in Texas. It, like I said, it is a smooth burning, hot burning um, wood. Um, and when you're using these woods, one of the things that I try to tell people is different woods are for different proteins. I wouldn't use a pecan or a hickory or a mesquite for smoking of a salmon or smoking of a catfish or a trout or something like that. I would use a more fruity wood, such as peach, cherry, or apple. They're less abrasive. They don't give off stronger smoke particles. So, basically, when you're smoking meat, the way you get the flavor is because the smoke uh, embellishes the product that you're smoking. So it's small particles. So the heavier the wood, the heavier smoke, the more it's going to have those particles within it. So on fish and things like that, you want a lighter wood. So fruity woods are the best choice. Uh, when you get into your chickens, your poultry, turkey, things of that nature, I love to use a mesquite for that or a pecan because it gives you more of a pungent, chicken, poultry in a whole needs a more flavorful kick. So one thing I always try to teach people is it can never be too much seasoning on chicken or turkey. It needs it. That's why we brine it to get to that flavor concept that we want to get to because you want it to the bone. So we want to use a heavier woods. When you come to your ribs, your brisket, my flavorful choice is pecan. Like I said, uh, it's a personal choice, but I think pecan gives you that middle ground between hickory and mesquite, where it's a little lighter, but it still gives you that pungent smoke flavor and it builds a great smoke ring in your meat. Um, it also gives you a great charcoal so that when you're building your fire, the one thing about it is once you get the charcoal base, you can use that all throughout the night. Because most of these meats I'm talking about are going to be anywhere from 10 to 16 hours to produce. Although your chicken, poultry, and fish are going to be lighter hours, in between 2 and 4 hours. And one of the things that I always tell people, make sure if you're buying wood for smoking your proteins, you want to make sure that the wood source that you are using is a reliable source, and they're going to be using a cured wood product. The hardest thing to do is go get green wood and try to smoke meat. It's going to give off a off taste. It's not going to give you a clean burn. So you're going to be left with, if you're looking at your smoker and you're looking at the pipe of your smoker, that exhaust of it, you're going to get a darker smoke, and that's going to give heavy, more like a burnt taste to your product. When you're cooking and you get your temperature right, you want to see almost a clear smoke coming out of your smoker. That gives you consistent cooking, and also it's going to give you a consistent flavor. On most products, if you're smoking a fish, you want to run in between 200 and 225 degrees. Chicken, I run my chicken in between 265 to 285 degrees. And I break a little rules when it comes to my brisket. I like my brisket to be in between 295 to 300 degrees for about 10 to 12 hours. And then I wrap that brisket in butcher paper. And if you don't have butcher paper, when I first started off, I didn't have butcher paper either. Couldn't afford it. So what I did was I took one of my wife's nice towels, and I got in trouble for it. I wrapped my brisket in it and I put it in a cooler and I let it set for 4 hours. So giving that time to that meat, especially briskets, pork butts or ribs, giving it time to rest, re-energizes that meat and lets the juices go back into it. So if anybody's ever cooked a steak and you're hungry, you come home, and a lot of us chefs get home late and we still want dinner too. So we cook a steak and then immediately we go ahead and slice it, and all the blood and all the juices run out. That's because we didn't give it a time to rest. Same thing with barbecue. If you don't let briskets rest, that internal temperature of that meat is going to keep it warm. So by placing it in a cooler, it's like basically an oven, and it lets the juices go back into that brisket and gives you that nice even slice. I want to move on from that, guys, and I'm going to start talking about rubs. I have some items here set here up for you guys to make a basic barbecue rub. This is a versatile rub where you can use this rub on any meat you would like. I've used this rub for over 15 years, and it's been a standby for myself and my family. So we're gonna first start off by adding a cup of brown sugar into my bowl. Then I'm gonna take a fourth of a cup of all of these items here. This is a versatile and yet easy measurable rub that I've worked out, and all of these items that I'm going to put in are going to be a fourth of a cup. And if you guys missed any of these ingredients or can't remember what I said or didn't write it down, we're going to post these recipes onto Slack so that you can have those for your further usage. And at the end of my demonstration, I'm going to take any questions so I can help you with that, but they will be available on our Slack channel as well. Next, we're going to do a fourth of a cup of garlic powder. We have a fourth of a cup of paprika. I myself like to use Spanish paprika. It's in between, you can get your plain red, but or Hungarian paprika. I think just a Spanish paprika gives you a nice floral note and a little bit of smokiness without having smoked paprika, because you're actually smoking meat, so you wouldn't want to. So that's a fourth of a cup of that as well. We have a fourth of a cup of onion powder, a fourth of a cup of dried mustard. We have a fourth of a cup of table ground black pepper. And one of the notes I want to hit while I'm doing this is when you're using black pepper for your rubs, you want to try to get something with a little bit of a bigger flake. So butcher's cut or table ground, those things are going to be more suitable for your rubs, and not, you don't want ground black pepper. It's a little bit too abrasive, and then also you won't be able to. So we want to stay away from that. We have a fourth of kosher salt. And then the only different measurements that we do have different is our cayenne, because we don't want to put a fourth of a cup of cayenne in here. We're going to do 2 tablespoons. Once we get that all together, we want to take these and I'll move this out of the way so you guys can see this better. Uh, we're going to take our whisk and work our ingredients in together. So mixing this together and using a whisk to do it, sometimes I even put it in my food processor to get this going because I want to make sure I break all the lumps and I want to make sure I get all this incorporated. Because the worst thing in the world is to get a seasoning and then you look at the bottom of it and then half of the seasoning is not, it's settled, so you won't get as much as you know you want even distribution over your meat, so you want all the flavors and build layers with that. So we're gonna whisk this together and get everything broke down. And now that we had that mixed together, that's an all-purpose barbecue rub that you can use on chicken, fish, pork, beef, all the things you want to do. And it's easy for you guys. For someone, these are things that you have and most people have in their pantry. So right now, while we're going through the pandemic, and you still craving barbecue as I am, you can make these things. It's easy for you to find in your pantry. To throw this simple rub together and use it at home. And one of the things I'm going to slip away and grab something for you guys is I keep one of these containers after I've bought this from one of your bulk stores like Sam's or Costco's or Restaurant Depot or things like this. I keep a lot of seasonings on hand. So I keep these. My wife will wash them out for me and I'll keep them. And one of the reasons that I keep these is to store my rubs in because it gives you an airtight fit, but also it comes with, I don't know if you can see that, but they already have, perforated openings on it. So I get a more even seasoning with my meats. Because the worst thing to do is get a clump of seasoning here. One piece of the meat is salty, one piece is not. I prefer not to rub my meats. I don't think that. I think more of the rub comes off on your hands than it does on the meat. So when I'm doing my briskets and things like this, I use a container like this to store my rubs in, and then I evenly distribute it over my briskets, making sure I hit all sides, front, back, because no one wants uneven seasoning. So this gives you even distribution of your seasoning. So if you have one of these on hand, you can even buy these in your bulk stores or restaurant supply stores where you can find it and do it. Another thing that I would talk about when you're making a seasoning blend is we all have recipes, but whether you're a home chef or a professional chef, the best thing is to adjust those things to your liking. One person's salt intake might be a different than another one. Recipes are only the base and the foundation of the home that you're trying to build with your recipe. So use that as a flow note and take it there. But moving forward, one of the things that we can't have barbecue without having barbecue sauce, right? So we want to make sure that we get to that point. So I'm going to grab a spatula right here. We're going to start a small amount of barbecue sauce. Like once again, we're going to have these recipes available to you guys. On our Slack page. So the barbecue sauce that I'm making right now has been in my family for over 80 years. It comes from my great-great-grandfather, passed down to myself through my grandfather and my father. In the South, where I grew up, we call our grandma Sassy. So the name of this barbecue sauce is our Sassy sauce. It's a sauce that I've carried in my own restaurants and my catering companies for everything. So I'll show you guys how the small bases of this. And we start with ketchup. And I'm just going to make a small sampling for you guys. I'm not going to make the full recipe, but if I was making a full recipe, I could tell you from heart that I would start off with 4 cups of ketchup. And then I'm going to move along to adding 1/4 of a cup of Worcestershire. In a bigger recipe, we would add 1/2 cup of honey, but I'm going to use a little bit less because I'm just making a small sample for you guys. And then we're going to add 1/2 cup of brown sugar. We're going to do a little bit of paprika. We're going going to do ground mustard, garlic powder, kosher salt, black pepper. We're going to work these in together with the ketchup and everything and get this going. And, you know, one of the things that I always tell people is when you're making different recipes to adjust to your tasteability and things like that, this is a tried and true recipe for me. And I've used it over and over. I wish you guys could smell it because I love the smell of this. It reminds me of, you know, on Saturdays when my grandfather would get up and have a smoker going and get everything going, and you know that means I get to eat. So I was always happy about that. So quickly, I wanted to show you guys that recipe, but this is a finished product right here. I keep jars of this. I make several gallons of this at home, and we keep it in mason jars here at home. You know, you take these jars right here and you make several different recipes of this, and they'll keep in your refrigerator for up to 30 days. One of the things that, you know, I tell people all the time is, as I got more into making my own sauces and different things at home, make sure you date them. That gives you a clarity of when you put this in your fridge. You know, we all have expiration dates on different things, but when we do it at home, we just assume that it's going to last forever. It doesn't. So make sure that we date it and put, you know, the name of what it is, because we don't want to have a mystery jar of something in our kitchen. So, you know, as we move forward, you know, I guess I can start taking some questions and answering some of you guys' questions now. That's pretty much what I have for you today. But I will gladly take some questions and answer as many as I can. All right. It says, what's my favorite meat to smoke? Growing up, you know, we had our own cows and pigs and chickens and things on my family farm. But to this day, my favorite thing in the world is smoking ribs. You can't beat a nice slab of St. Louis style ribs or spare ribs. I think they are probably one of the best things. And they hold a lot of flavor. And for a beginner smoker, it's something that you really can't mess up. I mean, 4 hours at 275 degrees, you're going to come out with a beautiful slab of ribs if you do it right. I think the next question says, can you smoke meats with sauce, not rubs? I would tell you that I would not do a barbecue sauce on a smoked meat to smoke it, but what you could do is make a wet marinade and marinate your meat overnight in a Ziploc bag or a container and then smoke it. But with the barbecue sauce, no, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't ask you to do that because it's so many sugars in a barbecue sauce that it's just going to come out and burn. It wouldn't come out regular. Next question, anything special to prep ribs? Yes. One of the biggest misconceptions and one of the things that a lot of people do that they don't handle well when they do the ribs is prepping their ribs. The biggest thing is the back membrane. If you have a slab of ribs, St. Louis slabs or whatever, if you've ever cooked ribs and you have that papery wax when you take a bite, it's because you didn't remove the membrane. So on the back side of that rib, if you take a paring knife and you just run it let's say this was a rib, and you run your knife at the edge of that rib, it's gonna push up that piece of membrane on the back. Take a dry towel or a paper towel and pull that membrane off. That's going to give you a more flavorful, and it's also going to give you a more moist rib. So that to answer that question. Yes, I will post my barbecue sauce recipe on the Slack. Next question is going to come in. Can you smoke vegetables? What are the vegetables to smoke, and what type of wood would you use? I treat vegetables just like I treat meats. So, you know, sometimes I make, for my family, we make smoked onion dip. So I smoked onions. And It depends on the hardiness of the vegetable, just like it would depend on the hardiness of a protein. So, for instance, with an onion, I use pecan wood, but pecan wood is my go-to wood. If I'm going to do something like smoked zucchini or tomatoes or things like that, I would go with a lesser wood, a more fragrant wood. So but I want to back up and say I misspoke. I want to go with a more abrasive wood, so I want to use like a mesquite, or I want to use a hickory, because the vegetable is 99% water. So you're looking at tomatoes, zucchinis, things like that. They need that abrasiveness. So you want to go with a heavier wood like a mesquite or a hickory. Next, how long should you rub the meats prior to smoking? Uh, One of the things that I tell people is I've found that, as anything, the longer something stays on, the better it is. So anytime I do my briskets or my ribs, I prep the day before. So at least 24 hours to give that time for your rub and your seasonings to soak into your meat before you cook them. But the one thing that you want to remember, you're going to have those things in an ice cooler, or you're going to have them in your refrigerator. The thing that you want to do is take them out 2 to 3 hours before you put them on the smoker to let them come to room temperature. Because if you don't, what it is what they call meat shock. If you put cold meat on a hot grill or smoker, and basically what's going to happen is that meat is going to tighten up, and it's going to release the juices too soon. So you're going to have a dry meat. But if you let it relax before you put it on the grill, it won't have that. Next question is, do you ever use coffee when smoking? I have never used coffee when smoking my meat, but I have used leftover coffee my wife had from the morning, to make a coffee barbecue sauce, and it was amazing. So I haven't used it, but I will off note tell you that ground coffee or espresso, added with a little brown sugar, white black pepper, a little bit of cayenne, salt, and a little bit of kosher salt, makes a great steak rub. So if you want to grill that, that would be something you can use it for, but not in smoking. Um, Next question would be, how long would you slow cook ribs on a Weber gas grill? Good question. Um, I own several different grills. I love my gas grill because it's easy and efficient. And having my girls home now, if I want to go throw a steak or burgers or whatever on the grill, I don't want to have to go and chop wood and smoke. So what I do is I fire my gas grill. One of the things with my gas grill is you can make it indirect heat, because what gives you the tenderness in the long cooking you want to use indirect heat. So if you have a 3 burner or a 4 burner, what you want to do is not put the gas on under those ribs. You want to put them off to the side. And what I did before, prior using ribs, I cooked them anywhere from 2 to 2.5 hours, and I finished them over the fire, but no direct fire underneath, just on a direct off center. So if you have them over here, you want to have the fire over here. Next question: can you deliver to San Diego? I can, with the given proper time. I can do that. Next question: do you recommend resting the smoked meat once it's done, similar to a steak, to keep the juices inside? I do. I do. With anything, especially briskets, pulled pork, chickens, things of that nature, when you pull them off the smoker, they're hot. Their internal temperature. I'll speak on this. My chickens, I love for my chickens to get to. You have to make sure your chickens get to 165. But on my briskets, I want my temperature in between 195 degrees to 200 degrees. Some people think that's too much. I don't, because what happens is briskets are muscles. So when you get it to that 195 to 200 degree mark, it breaks down all the gelatinous and muscles to become a beautiful, tender piece of meat. By wrapping it and letting it wait, at least 4 hours, is going to let that heat and those muscles relax, and that gives you the tenderness of your meat. So yes, you should let them rest. Next question. Where is your favorite barbecue in Texas if you're not making it yourself, and why? My favorite barbecue in Texas, it's a tie. So I'll tell you, my first is Heart Eight Barbecue. Um, I love Heart Eight because I think it's the simplicity of the barbecue. I think we've in a world where barbecue has started to pop up everywhere. Um, I have family in California, family in Vegas, and I see barbecue places out there, and I just chuckle because it's a remnants of what Texas barbecue truly is. I've been in Texas for 21 years. I've studied it. I've worked under some great guys that know barbecue. So Heartache would probably be my first favorite barbecue, and a lesser known place here in the DFW area is called North Main. It's in Euless, Texas. It's only open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Um, they do a buffet of all things of barbecue, from ribs, brisket, pork, sausages, homemade sides. People don't know a lot about it because it's in a small town and it's off, but they've been there since 1987, and it's probably some of the best barbecue you can find in Texas. Next, and let's see. I think that's pretty much all of our question, guys. If anybody else have any more, oh, hold up, I got one more. That's from my boss, Hannah Lindsay. Yes, we can, man. We can make it in our cafe when we come back. Um, how long does barbecue sauce stay good in the refrigerator? If it's a store-bought barbecue sauce, which I don't frown upon, a lot of chefs do. I will say, sorry, I will say that which I recommend, and I'm not getting paid by them, but I'll tell you what, the best store brand barbecue sauce that I love is Sweet Baby Ray's. So I don't know if people like that or not, but those barbecue sauces will stay in your home for at least 30 days. I recommend. Some more, but we usually don't stay around my house that much because I smoke so much meat. But in house, the same. 30 days. Make sure you date it and keep it up. Let's see. Yes, it does, Mike. I think that's all the questions we have for today, guys. If you have any more questions or you feel like um, you want to ask me about something, feel free to reach out. I'm sure you can find me on the emails, and also we'll put these recipes on Slack. I really enjoyed my time with you today, and I look forward to doing this again. So if anybody else, like I said, have any more questions, feel free to reach out to me through email, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. You guys stay blessed, stay safe, make sure we're social distancing, make sure that we're, one of the things that I tell my girls right now is make sure that we rest, we reflect, and we accept. Because once we accept it and we know the situations that we're in, we put it in the hands of somebody else and we move along. Thanks, guys, and I look forward to doing it again for you guys. Y'all have a great day.